In this video, I want to talk about making of Crime Interrupted, the latest Casefile Presents podcast that's available now for free wherever you listen to podcasts. Hi, it's Mike, producer of Casefile. This channel I'm releasing videos on podcasting, so if you enjoy the content, please hit the like button. The idea for the podcast was proposed to us through a marketing agency that was working with the Australian Federal Police, that's AFP for short. Now, the Australian Federal Police is the national and principal federal law enforcement agency of the Australian government with the unique role of investigating crime and protecting the national security of the Commonwealth of Australia. Now that's from Wikipedia. So as far as I understand, the AFP wanted to create a campaign promoting the agency as well as sort of recruitment campaign. And a part of that recruitment campaign to get the diversified talent was to create a podcast. 6 episodes, 6 big cases that AFP solved. Now I don't know if someone from the AFP heard of Casefile or maybe from that marketing agency, but they wanted us to send a proposal, which of course we did, because not every day you do get access to investigators and the cases from, a government agency. When we won the brief, the approval, we got to work. And Vicky Petraitis, who's the Australian true crime writer and podcaster with whom we've released a couple of podcasts, Vanishing of Vivian Cameron and Searching for Sarah, was tasked with recording the interviews for the series. So she had the access to the investigators as well as to the case briefs. The idea was that the Casefile host would narrate the show, and then Anthony, our editor, and I would take a role of editing and then producing the podcast. There was a lot of material that had to be recorded, then transcribed, edited and cut to the narrative. The Casefile host recorded his line in the vocal booth, so that was easy. That was a good quality recordings recorded to the script, no problems there. With the interviews, it was a different story because each episode was a completely different case, so we had to start from scratch with each of one of these 6 episodes. Some of the clips had better quality than others, and then of course there was a lot of ums and ahs, fillers and mistakes that we were supposed to cut out. So Anthony, our editor, went through all of that. He prepped the dialogues and then, according to the script, put everything with the narration in a prose session. When I got the sessions from him, I imported them into my template and then went through it all again with the script on the side, and that was to spot the leftover mistakes as well as to work on pacing of the dialogues. Then after that was done, I've imported the dialogues, the clips into RX where I've done my cleanups, so the noise, the click, all of that, even in the audio as well with the leveler. And then some clips were noisier than the others and required more work, but overall that's where I sort of spent majority of the time. That was about it when it came to editing. Of course, throughout the process I was exporting the drafts and sending them to the team, so I was getting these sort of waves of feedback notes which I looked at and was fixing the stuff on the go as well. For the music, I went with a synth-based score. For the last Casefile Presents podcast, I used heavily sort of acoustic instruments, orchestral instruments. That was for the Detective Dilemma, which is also available now out on Spotify. But for this one, I want to try something different. I want to mix it up, so do more electronic kind of ambience and score. I've used Omnisphere 2 for, I guess, most of it, but I got new libraries for these projects, and these were libraries from Luftstrom, and they worked perfectly for the type of music I was looking at. I wrote 9 musical cues in total, and then had 3 versions of each of the cues, plus 2 additional just for pads. So in total, I had 5 versions of these 9 cues. That's 45 remixes, different cues, and each one of them consisted of several textures and instruments. So that gave me hundreds of textures and instruments that I could work with. More than enough for 6 episodes. For the theme music, I took a bit out of one of the cues and made it as a theme. But on top of it, I was also commissioned to do music for the 30 seconds video, sort of like a video clip, promotional video clip. And I used that theme music for that video at first, but because it was kind of clean, it was electronic, but it was kind of clean, it was kind of sort of upbeat, it didn't work with the video. So in the end, what I done was I left that clean and upbeat, energetic theme for the podcast on the 6 episodes as an intro and outro, but I've composed and I wrote a new, very short theme for the video that was like a separate one. I will talk about how I made that music for the video and my work there in another video. I'll record a short video about that in the future. The way I work now is to get the drafts out as quickly as possible so I can get the feedback and feedback notes, QC notes, which is quality control notes, also as quickly as possible, and then fix the mix, the dialogues, the clips throughout that process. So that's what I was doing. Now, at the beginning, the drafts, the levels are all over the place, the pacing is not there yet, or the music may be too loud, things like that. I don't care about that as much. I need to get the notes, especially for the cuts when we're looking at the content itself and cutting the clips out. The bit that is tricky is when I've got the score in and then we still are doing the cuts. So you've got to do some creative editing there, moving the clips about and matching the music as well, because essentially you are cutting a bit of the whole episode with the score that's already mixed in. You've got to make it work. Paulina, our designer, took inspiration from that promotional video as well as from the colorscape that the marketing agency provided, and from all these assets created a really great looking logo for the podcast. We skipped on making a full standalone website and instead created a page on Casefile Presents website. The show was released on the 4th of February 2022, 6 episodes, and they were released weekly. We've also had an audio trailer, some ads that we posted on the Casefile feed, and that promotional video that I composed the music for. There was also some press releases and the marketing agency organized, as well as the page on the AFP, which is Australian Federal Police website, where people can read about the podcast and click the link and then listen to it. The podcast was released on all podcasting platforms for free for everyone. Because we were working with marketing agency and the government agency, there were many more people involved than usual. And because of the sensitivity of the material and our privileged access to these cases, the content and the scripts went through a lot of people for to get the final approval. Now that meant delays and it took time. So we were working against deadlines, tight deadlines. And the lesson was, which I kind of already knew, that it's good to have things prepped in advance as much as we can. We have to understand, in post-production, we are at the very end of the pipeline, of the whole production pipeline, always chasing deadlines. And it doesn't matter if you work in TV, in movies, podcasting, music. It is usually a rush to get it right. But we can be prepared. We can do stuff like creating music libraries in advance, having the templates working for us, the sessions, getting it all ready. So when we start work, we have, half of it already prepped for us. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to finish any jobs if every time you had to start from scratch and then, aim for perfection or at least great quality, which we all do. So I think that's the biggest lesson from it. It wasn't a new lesson. It's something that I already know and usually work towards, but reassured me, this is the right approach. Be prepared as much as you can. Because in the end, even though, the deadlines were short and like I said, there was some delays, there was a lot of material to go through, we ended up producing a pretty amazing podcast, 6 episodes that I have no doubt true crime, and not just true crime fans, but people will love, and they loved from the feedback that we got. But so that was making of Crime Interrupted. The podcast is out, all the episodes are out now, have a listen. It's really compelling to understand how these government agencies work behind the scenes to solve some of the biggest cases that, occur in our world. And in the context of this podcast, in Australia. But that's it. I hope you found it interesting. If you enjoyed it, check the rest of my channel, hit the like button, and I'll see you later.